Let's continue to bring you the latest on a leading story of the day. The second day of voter registration weekend is expected to take place at Ward 17 in Eldorado Park, despite the service delivery protests continuing to plague the area. 3 weeks ago, residents there took to the streets to protest against two Patriotic Alliance councillors, accusing them of servicing certain areas while choosing to ignore others. Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is at the Eldorado Park voting station. Ziyanda, a very good morning to you as we continue, of course, to take a look at how the response is with the weekend voter registration drive. There has been some disruptions, protests erupting and disrupting the program of the drive. What's it looking like there on the ground?
Well, Paul, there hasn't been any disruption to the voter registration drive here in Eldorado Park. I'm in Ward 17, but a few weeks ago, there were protests against service delivery, and I can tell you, Paul, off air, I've had a conversation with at least 4 elderly women who were already seated here at around 7:30, waiting for the the IEC to open this voting station, and they've highlighted a series of issues in this area. They continue to maintain that the Eldorado police station is corrupt. The levels of crime and drugs amongst the young people in this area is quite rife, to the extent that, Ubers can't even actually enter this area. They have to walk long distances, in order to be able to get a service such as Uber. But also just talking about the cleanliness of this area, where they say that water is just spilling everywhere, as well as sewerage. I'm mentioning these issues because remember that one of the targets for this weekend is to actually get young people to come out to vote. But what I'm getting a sense from the ladies that I've spoken to now, they're all elderly women, is that the young people here are so plagued by drugs and crime that it's unlikely that a lot of young people will come out to vote. However, and also they also believe that, one of them told me that they saw, sewerage running on their streets, and they ask themselves why they should bother voting when their situation still remains in this way. So this is why then I'm not even speaking to them on camera, just for fear of victimization, because of just how bad even gangsterism is in this area. So we've even been asked to park our car in a particular area just to ensure that we are also quite okay with our equipment where we are reporting from, and Paul. So these are the issues that will have a material impact on the ability of the IEC to reach that 1 million target that they've set out for themselves in terms of the registration this weekend.
In fact, I asked about the disruptions, because the IEC has said that where residents or people who are wanting to register to vote are experiencing safety issues, they should rather opt to register online. Do you see that being an option at all, given the picture that you've painted around the reality on the ground in Eldorado Park?
The option of online is there, but it's got more to do with the discussions around voters being disillusioned, especially young people in the country, in terms of the options that are available. And let me step out of shot, because let's talk a little bit about the political parties that are vying then, of course, to get young people to register to vote. You can see the Patriotic Alliance and their councillors here in Ward 17 and 18. There's the Democratic Alliance, which was once in charge of this ward before the recent local government elections, as well as the ANC. And I'm talking about this because of the fact that from the people that I've spoken to so far, there is a sense that it doesn't matter who they actually even vote for, the situation is not going to change. So in terms of the option being there, yes, of course the option of voting online is there. It's about people's sense that if they go ahead and vote and register to vote, that something will change. And you remember that when the Patriotic Alliance came onto the scene, there was a sense in this predominantly colored community that it would bring about change, and that sense seems to have changed. If that protest on the 4th of November is anything to go by against those two councillors, where they felt that these councillors were only servicing voting only some parts of the wards that they're in charge of and ignoring other areas. And so it's unclear whether or not there'll be a disruption at this voting station, but it would seem it's that the elders so far, of course it's only just opened at 8 o'clock, but it's the elders so far that have come out to register to vote.
Very well, Ziyanda, Ngcobo, giving us a sense of what's happening out in Eldorado Park. Let's take you now to Newzroom Afrika Siphosethu Booi, who joins us live in Gqeberha to tell us more, Siphosethu, about what day 2 is expected to look like and the numbers. Are the numbers going to garner up as expected by the IEC, which has set a target of about 1 million people to register this weekend?
And that's an issue of debate, because many of the issues that my colleague Ziyanda has just, spoken about in that area of Eldorado Park is actually some of the problems that many of the residents in Nelson Mandela Bay also, echo those sentiments of, in this particular area, Ward 40 alone, in the Green Bushes area. Now, this is more of a suburb area, but the informal settlements there at the back in this particular area, those residents are still complaining about the issue of electricity. They're still complaining about the issue of housing, and of course in the recent floods in September, that really gave an appetite to some of those residents to go out in their numbers like they did in this morning to go and register to vote, so that they vote for a party which they feel could give them a better life, or rather better housing, because that's the one issue they have been complaining about. But as far as seeing young people coming forward to register to vote, that's a different conversation entirely for the Nelson Mandela Bay region, at least for the youth here. And I'm joined now by Renette Mary. Ma'am, thank you very much for making time to speak to us and being so patient with your time. Speak to us about the importance of voter registration as an elderly person yourself that lives in and around the perimeters of the Nelson Mandela Bay area.
No, it is important to vote because we want a better life and a better community to stand together. And like I say, everything is just going backwards. There's nothing to look forward to. Look at the roads, everything, look like we say electricity and all that stuff. We stay in a little gravel road just out past this Dryfontein. They don't fix that road. If we go there, they say there's no funds. And we must drive through water, potholes, big ones. So, and there's no way for the water to run away as well. We must make a plan to let the water what do you call that, things for the water to run away. So we fed up, man, and your cars get bugger up and all that stuff.
And also, as a person who started voting back in 1994, what is it exactly that you, as a person who've lived during that time and now, that you feel should have changed by now, or there should be a bit of improvement in certain areas?
Yeah, like we say, housing, that's the worst part, the biggest thing for the people. And like we say, the roads, you drive in the road must be fixed. You can't forever fix your tires because you get burst tires and all that stuff. So that is what we most of it want.
And also looking at the fact that not many young people are coming out to register to vote. As an elderly person yourself, does that not concern you, just looking at the state of the country, considering the fact that young people are always labeled as the next future?
Yeah, and I think most of the young people just think, let me just go with it. So that is the way I think the young people is. They must get educated to look forward for a better life. Not just stay in it like it is.
Renette Mary, thank you very much for making time to speak to us. One of the residents here in the area of Green Bushes, and we were lucky enough to have that opportunity to speak to her and get a sense of an elderly person's perspective with regards to also the issue of young people being opted, or rather being urged to come forward to register to vote. And it's a question of if whether or not many of these young people who also live in disadvantaged backgrounds. Now, I'm thinking about the people who live in villages who may not even have smartphones to access, the IEC's website to register online, considering the fact that maybe some areas where they need to travel to where the VDs are, maybe it's an issue of transportation that could get them to those areas, considering the fact that in some villages in the Eastern Cape province, it's a distance to move from one small house moving closer to where some of the schools are, where the IEC has located itself. So it's an ongoing conversation of really wanting to see whether or not that 1 million target will be reached by the IEC throughout the country, not only here in the Eastern Cape province.
Absolutely, Siphosethu Booi. Let's leave it there for now. The big question around the 1 million target. We will be expanding on that and asking